Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, this is the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. Guys, we have a stupendous show for you tonight. Now, I know you guys are all excited. You're all hopped up about the Madam C.J. Walker movie, and everybody's talking about it. Everybody's discussing. Everybody's talking about the first female self made millionaire, the whole nine. However, that's what our topic is based on tonight. Is that fact or fiction? Now, with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to none other than Miss Chantel Overton, who's vice president of the Overton National Historical Family Organization, Miss Linda Nance, who is the Annie Malone Historical Society, Dr. Marty K. Casey, who's an actress, a writer, producer, and a director. Now, listen, you will hear a lot of conversation as it pertains to Madam C.J. Walker, as it pertains to Annie Malone, and the whole nine. So we want you guys to feel free to put any of your questions or comments in the box that you see to your left on your computer, and then indulge and engage in conversation with these wonderful ladies. Because, guys, listen, again, there's going to be a lot of conversation. Those of you that are huge Madam C.J. Walker fans, and you may not want to hear some of the information that's here, sit tight. That's why it's called history. That's why it's called fact or fiction. And Miss Chantel,
Yes, sir.
now, first of all, it's been great. You know, you and I have had several shows,
Yes, sir.
thanks to our brother Ross Slacks, who put us together. I think it may have been before you and I actually had the ability to talk. It may have been Dr. James that he put me in touch with. I'm not sure if it was
Yes.
Dr. James, but okay,
Mhm.
then Dr. James hooked you and I up, and we've had several shows. So tonight, how you doing, Jenny? So
Hi.
tonight we are going to do some strong conversation with Overton Nation, about Overton Nation. We're going to have some strong conversation with Miss Linda Nance of the Annie Malone Historical Society, and Dr. Marty K. Casey, who's also joining us. Unfortunately, there were some technical glitches via internet, so she will be with us in voice only. So, guys, again, we encourage you to put any questions that you may have in the box to the right. So let's get to it. You didn't come to hear me. You came to hear these wonderful, beautiful ladies talk about this process. Miss Chantel Overton, how are you this evening, darling?
I'm good. I'm good. As always, I guess I'll take the first leg of the race of this
Go
relay.
right in.
First thing I will ask, because I know how it sounds to others as well as myself, if everybody would mute themselves when they're not talking, so then the feedback won't be there, especially the guests. Um, the first thing I want to do is really introduce our topic. Cousin Jenny, can you mute yourself? There you go. The topic is came about, and the reason this panel was put together was because of the self-made series that everyone saw on Netflix, and it got tremendous views. But what immediately happened, because people know my own family's connection to Annie Malone, my phone started ringing nonstop. And I will be very honest, it took me 3 tries to get through the whole series because I knew the facts. So let me first say, first and foremost, these women, both women, Madam C.J. Walker and Annie Malone, should be honored based off of what they contribute to history. They deserve that, and they should be honored in truth. So this conversation is really to give people the factual backdrop of what is facts versus fiction, but it's not to belittle anyone or destroy anyone's legacy. The immediate problem that I saw after finally viewing it was this was extremely problematic. And the reason for it being problematic is that I know what and how history is captured as well as passed on and preserved. So even though it states inspired by, or even when it says based on, those are covert words to tell you that they can take creative licensing and make up things about true figures. Now, to me, my personal opinion is that is extremely irresponsible from a historical standpoint and a professional standpoint, especially when you're dealing with historical figures. It is hard enough for us to get our stories told and someone to pay attention to them because we've been so overlooked for so long, and our, you know, so many of our, historical figures made major contributions, including our ancestors that were enslaved to history into this country, that when we have that opportunity, we should actually take that opportunity and be serious enough with it to honor them in truth. So, with that being said, I know the list of untruths. So, I'm going to give you a small piece and then I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to yield the floor to Miss Linda. The first thing is that the first 10 minutes of the movie is just setting the scene was a little unnerving and disturbing. But Annie Malone was Madam C.J. Walker's, quote unquote, as people would say, her mentor. And if you don't want to call her mentor, she did work as a Poirot agent. And Annie Malone did not follow Madam C.J. Walker around the world, you know, stalking her. That didn't happen. She did. Annie Malone is not a very fair-skinned mulatto woman. That's not true. And to be quite honest, and I'm sure Miss Linda would expand on this, when she worked for Annie Malone, meaning Sarah, she was still called Sarah at the time. She became an elite agent, and she sent her to Denver to open that market, and that's even included in Miss Walker's granddaughter's book. That soon after that, she got word that Sarah had become Madam C.J. Walker and was selling her own product. That's in the actual book. Now, the other thing before I yield the floor, I want the audience to know is that even when you get Miss Bundle's book, and that's Madam C.J. Walker's great great granddaughter, she wrote a book about her grandmother, and it was supposed to be inspired on that book. And it is the furthest thing from that book. So she will even say that and have said that. There is a number of articles that she has spoke on it. She's also been online with the request of people to be interviewed, and I've been privileged enough to be in some of those conversations. And she has stated that the movie does not reflect the book. So in totality, we never saw the true story of either one of these great women. So that's why this conversation has to be had, because it is so important when it comes to history. So with that said, I'm going to yield the floor to Miss Linda.
Trying to keep up with. However, I'm hoping that you can hear me. And a lot of what Chantel has just said is so true. And I must make a general comment on and I had of notes in I think the series did justice to either one of them. And that was a little heartbreaking for me. To be in front of 50 to 100 million people in one swipe that would give the opportunity for this great history to be told, discussed, shared, whichever you put that. Of African Americans since the 1900s. That was just really difficult for me to take.
Miss
Linda, interrupt you a second.
Yes.
Let me close my camera. Try my camera. I'm going to close my camera.
Yes. Okay.
And try that spot for him. Yes.
Yes, I'm going out. Can you hear me as well?
We can hear you now, but you were going in and out.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm hoping that this is better. The bottom line for me is that I was very, very disappointed that we had an opportunity to be in front of 50 to 100 people, according to what Google says about the widespread viewership of Netflix.
Miss Linda, let me call you on the phone.
I had that.
Miss Linda, let me call your phone because what you're saying is very important, and I want the audience to be able to hear you. I'm getting ready to call you on see, this is where it comes in handy that I actually have a business phone and a personal phone, because Marty's on one phone and I'm getting ready to call you on this one.
I'm going to ask that you give me a moment to power it back up.
Okay.
I turned my phone off entirely so that I could not have the interruption, because what has happened is since Friday, I have been deluged by telephone calls and emails and Facebook pages, text messages by people talking about their reactions to the miniseries, which is great information. I love the fact that they have decided to call the Annie Malone Historical Society for information. That's what we were there for. I'm loving the fact that those people who called our agency from Italy or from Maine or from Detroit or have called and asked us lots of questions to learn more during January and February and earlier in March. But in this few days since Friday, when it aired, we have had so many other questions from people from all over the country. So we're in place to provide an opportunity for people to learn more about Annie Malone in a less theatrical fashion, to learn more about Annie Malone, her contributions and her achievements. That's basically what we were trying to make sure people knew, because the story of Annie Malone's accomplishments is one that you don't need to pass up. It's very relevant for today, in that there are so many things you can't count on, but you have to learn that in spite of the things that you're faced with that don't work out quite like you want, there are many, many things that you can do for yourself and for others. That's the bottom line. We just missed the mark on that miniseries, providing lots of people with information that gave them the kind of determination that was Annie Malone. She had 75,000 women that she trained in her lifetime around the world, not just in St. Louis, not just in the United States. It was something that she did around the world. She had a business here that she built that was one of the largest buildings ever built by a person of color at that particular time, which was 1918, 1 week after World War I ended. And you don't talk about that. You don't talk about the fact that she taught Madam C.J. Walker not only the business of hair care, but her marketing skill. She taught C.J. Walker how to interact with the Black press. She taught them so many different things, and it was wonderful that she used them. it was kind of a difficult thing that she might have absconded with some things without the proper permissions. That was a lifetime rift between them. But what I think was also missed is you had a group of people that had great struggle with one another, but each of them managed to continue to rise and teach and help people to understand it's not just me who's realizing my dream, but I can believe in you so tough that you believe that you can have a similar dream and do wonderful things. That was the beauty of both of those women. They contributed so much. Their rivalry, the story wasn't their rivalry. The story was the success of their determination. That was the real story.
Ms. Nance, may I ask, as you were sharing so eloquently, first of all, I'm thinking that the internet is working through your phone, so please don't turn it off again, because you're coming through beautifully now.
Right.
You use the word.
Right.
You use the word. She may have absconded. Touch on that, if you will, because of all of the conversation that's being had. Those individuals that are contacting you, those individuals that are contacting Chantel, and information that we see. I think, and if I might say this with no sarcasm at all and no disrespect to anyone, we all know, quite honestly, even if we take it back to slavery, how the owners would have abscond with the idea of the slaves, etc. Now, with Miss Walker being, if you will, the understudy of Mrs. Malone, is it felt pretty strongly that she may have taken the liberty to remove some of the product as she left the scene?
Can I take that first, and then you build on that, Miss Linda?
Nope. I'm gonna put this on the scene first because I have a different thing about it.
Yes,
Chantel,
ma'am.
really. The thing that
Okay, you going in and out. Do I need to call you?
I think because of all the stuff that's going on with this virus, the internet is like messing up. That's why I keep coming off. So I'm gonna come off, but I'm gonna listen.
Okay. Let me try Miss Linda again.
my phone is still on. I don't know why it's being mad at me right when I'm ready to talk. But let me tell you. The question was, did she ask the stuff? That's what it boils down to. And my answer is, I am not going to use 1 ounce of my energy talking about something I cannot prove. Okay? What I can prove is that each one of these women took women of color at a time when no woman of any status, of any hue, in any part of the United States could vote. But she took them to a different economic level. And is it really important? No, it's not. Not when I can't see. Absolutely. I can tell you that Annie Malone was cutting down trees and picking up rocks. That's pioneering to me. What Annie Malone did made it possible for Sarah Washington, for Ruth Flowers, for people in Alabama, people in Michigan, people in Mississippi, people in all parts of this country to do some wonderful things. That I know. I know that Annie Malone taught Madam C.J. Walker. You go figure, and you go do all of that stuff on your time, not mine. I am going to constantly celebrate what I know to be true, and that is that both of those women should have been honored in that series in a fashion that respected their contributions. That's what I know. I don't think that answered your question quite adequately.
Well, I still want to add to it.
Okay, go ahead, Chantel.
I would absolutely agree with Miss Linda, and she knows where I stand. But it has to be said that yes, those allegations were out there, but it needs to even be said louder that not at any time did Madam C.J. Walker, as you see at the end of the series, admit to doing anything of the sort. That's not in her granddaughter's book. That is not documented anywhere. It didn't happen. Now, from oral history, from my family's oral history, the allegations were there. Yes, but neither woman have put in writing this is what happened. At least nothing that has been passed down through my family, nor anything that we have tried to find on record. There's nothing there.
Now I have to also tell you that one of the things that Annie Malone did that you can tell in print was she began to change her advertising style, which included a statement that said, beware of imitations. That wasn't focused at Madam C.J. Walker. It was focused at the number of different people who came out of the woodwork who began to market a style like hers. It wasn't just her. Annie Malone was plagued by lawsuits that people sued her because of the monies that she had, and she sued other people for product infringement because there were a number of different people who would take the Poro training and then decide, oh, I'm not going to use the Poro products, and I'm still going to tell people Poro trained, it's a wonderful thing, but I'm going to put my name on it. And that's product infringement. And Annie Malone went after them.
Yeah.
She did one other thing too. She patented a specific label that she began to label her products with. And that label was to prove to her public and protect her public long before you had Tylenol putting a seal on it to say, this is my product. This has not been tampered with. Annie Malone did that. Annie Malone tried to ensure that her customers, her agents knew it was her product because it had that special label on it. And she had a patent for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Chantel? Jenny,
Yeah.
you got your back. Yeah. Listen. Linda and Chantel, and as I told you guys, this is your show. So you rock with it the way you need to rock with it. If you want to bring Dr. Marty in and whatever she's going to share, hey, you guys go for it.
That's what I was just about to say. I would like for Marty now to come in and speak. Marty, you're on speaker now. I think she muted me.
Okay, I'm here.
Can you guys hear her?
Yes.
Go right ahead, Marty.
Go ahead, Marty. Okay.
I'm going to come off again. The more I come off, the better you can hear. So I'm coming off again, and I'll just listen.
Okay, can you all hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Yes, I hear you well.
I think it's because she's listening to herself, and it's a delay. But we hear you loud and clear, Marty.
Okay, well, I can still hear some others talking. Okay, it sounds. I think I'm behind, maybe by 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm just going to go ahead and start talking real quick. I want to say thank you so much for having me on. I have learned just as much as I'm sure the other listeners right now. History is just that important. It's priceless. And I am coming with a voice today to speak. Okay, and so I am coming with a voice to speak as a writer, director, producer, and just recently I have written, directed, and produced a one-woman show about my family's life. And so I found this movie to be quite interesting as to how it has been presented. And I am in agreement with everyone today that I feel like this panel had to happen in order for us to address the facts and the truth, and the fiction side of what Hollywood has portrayed. I am really disappointed because there's only 12% of Black professionals working in Hollywood. And when we have this opportunity to take the stage and to make it to the mainstream and on the screen and come into people's homes by thousands and millions, I would like to think that the very thing that we would at least do together is make sure that we come and we honor the stories that we stand behind. Being from St. Louis and hearing the history of Annie Malone my entire life, and I can't say that I know it to the level of Linda Nan or Chantel Overton. However, I've been very proud to know that Annie Malone is from St. Louis and what she was able to pioneer here. And I had just found out a couple of years ago that Annie Malone, as well as Madam C.J. Walker, both attended the church that I am a member of right now, which is St. Paul AME. And so just from that standpoint, I looked at the story that we told just this past week with them. It was concerning even on another level that we're overlooking. These were two Black Christian women. And so I would like to think that as Christian women, that some of the things that were portrayed in the movie should not have even been in their spirit. And so as we're as an actress, or even before I would even say the script was passed off to the actors, from the writer standpoint, at what point did you do your due diligence and look up the backstory of these two women, knowing that these were women that you are portraying? These are not fictional characters. These are real women who lived in an era that today we are not privy to, and knowing how certain things were done. Why would you not want to put that out in the most honorable and truthful way that you could?
I know that's right.
Absolutely. Marty,
Absolutely.
you are right on with that, Marty.
And
I know
so
this
it
was not a piece about Annie
very
Malone.
disappointing to me. I feel like it was a missed opportunity. And I feel like everyone who is associated with this movie, from the executive producers who put the money behind it, from the writers and the directors, it makes me wonder who really had the power and the trust of others, knowing that this was true.
Mm-hmm.
But collectively, they all failed and did not do the proper work before it hit the big screen and came into the homes of others. Because now what we have done, we've damaged history. It's already concerning that our history is very vague.
Mm-hmm.
And having this major platform and an opportunity to teach today about two self-made millionaires, Black women, Christian women, we failed.
Mm-hmm.
We failed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to build on that, is that's why it's so important that when we have an opportunity to give a visual, as many of you may not know, I am a professional photographer, so I understand the importance of visual. When we have that opportunity to give that visual, we need to give it as accurate as possible. A young lady immediately spoke out about it, and she's on the internet and you can find her, and she was getting backlash from it. And she said, but would we have accepted this if it had been Dr. King? These are not fictional people. These are historical people. So you can't hide behind creative licensing and say, let me make up fictitious, storylines and characters and give them characterizations that further put out the narrative of every negative stereotype we've ever fought against. First and foremost, like Miss Linda said, as well as Marty has reiterated, is that first of all, these women, both of them, excelled at a time when one, women should not have excelled, and two, they were Black women. So we missed it. And there has to come a time that we finally put the mirror in our own face and say, what part is it that we're playing to continue to help others oppress not only us, but our history? It's unacceptable because and everybody else know, more people are going to watch that and never pick up a book, never do research to find the truth. So what's going to happen 100 years from now when we're gone and we can't explain to our babies, because it's a part of their legacy, that let me explain to you about creative licensing. No, don't come out the gate that way. And that in itself, along with all of I had very strong people. As you guys know, I worked for the NFL. I have been on larger stages as people view them. I had people hitting me up saying, I don't want to support anything with her name on it. Are you kidding? She has a living legacy with this children crisis home. How
I have been
responsible is that?
I've been able to talk to and connect 4 different family members from the Turnbow family. And in that situation.
Wait a minute, hold on one moment. Miss Linda speaking. Wait a minute, hold on one moment.
What they were trying to do was to connect the dots of what happened almost 100 years ago as to where we are today and how we interact with each other as Blacks today. I can't remember specifically the line that was stated in the movie, but I do know, I believe it came from Madam C.J. Walker, that she said something along the lines that life is too short. Just let it go. Right now, we have white folks killing us. Mm-hmm. Now, what I heard in that, I said, they're trying to basically create a piece today that is showing that this is a struggle that we have had all of these years, and right now we still have Black on Black crime. And I believe that as a writer and a director, they were trying to tie that all in as to say that is the issue that's happening right now today. I felt like they missed the mark, because if I was the writer or the director or both, however, I would have, if that was our goal, I would have shown that these are 2 women that may have disagreed in business, and they decided to go their own separate ways, and whatever facts and truth that we can find to support that. And I'm like Linda, we don't make up anything. We only talk about what we can prove. Mm-hmm. So in doing so, but what I would have shown is that even in spite of them not being able to continue to do business together, it did not end in gunfire. They did not shoot and kill one another.
Yes.
That is a message that we could be selling today, we could be talking about today, we could be using today, watching today, sharing today, that could save a life today. What they have put together, to me, you have only added more fuel to the fire of the reasons why we have Black on Black crime today. And that's the activist side of me speaking.
Absolutely. And we're yielding the floor to Miss Linda, because Miss Linda has started talking. One moment.
Marty, with the big D. I put 4 family members of the Turnbow family together. They're living today and can confirm for me Annie Malone was not mulatto. They can confirm for me that Annie Malone was orphaned at a very early age and was raised by her brothers and sisters. She never called her mother to do anything, because I'm pretty sure if she could have, she would have. But that wasn't the case. The miniseries failed to talk about all the positive things that went on. These ladies were able to give scholarships. These ladies, both of them, were able to give scholarships to multiple colleges. They gave to individuals. They gave to causes. They gave to hospitals. They gave those dollars. And they not only did that, but they said to their employees, their agents, you have a responsibility not only to make your money for your family, but you have a responsibility to buy property, to buy bonds, to be aware of what's going on in your community. They ask for those agents to be responsible citizens in the community where they were. But more than that, they built things. They went places. They provided opportunities at a time when people of color were shut out of public places. They were shut out of opportunities to attend an opera, attend a movie, take their children to a carnival. I mean, just a lot of different things that they were shut off, not even to mention the educational and employment kind of opportunities. But they said, we can do that for ourselves. And they built that empire. And they had supply houses in different parts of the country to make it easier for their agents to get their products. They manufactured. They did things that people are doing now, and they think they're so wonderful. It's not just a thing where I make this widget and then I have to buy this from that person and that from another person and bring it over here. They had manufacturing plants. They had everything they needed to provide the products that they provided to other people so that they could improve their lives. These were women who were ahead of their time in terms of their business sense, in terms of their ability to navigate through. I tell young people quite often that you are a very special individual by nature of the fact that you can sit here, suck air, and sit in that chair. Because your people survived and navigated all those negative things for you to be sitting here. So now that you have all kind of opportunity that your people didn't have, Annie Malone and Madam C.J. Walker didn't have one Twitter feed. They didn't have one computer. They didn't have anything of the things that we have. And they made international businesses. Mm-hmm. So when I'm staring in the face of a young person who's dropping their pants down halfway to their knees, or disrupting different classes, or deciding not to go to school, or deciding that they don't have, the neatest thing I ever heard in a presentation that I made is a young man said to me at the end of my speech to them, this babe was off the chain. And that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. For him to get the connection that there is really no reason for me not to excel if this babe can do all of that. She's faced with discrimination and housing covenants and lynchings that occurred, laws that basically said people of color can't buy property anywhere. That's amazing. That's absolutely, these were amazing, phenomenal women at a time that just wasn't woman friendly. That's the best way I can put that. It wasn't woman friendly.
Absolutely, Miss Linda. I think the series missed the mark to even inspire those to understand in today's time, with us having 1.4, 1.8 billion dollars that we're giving into the economy, and we own or have less than 1% wealth, but we are 12, 13% of the actual nation, that missed the mark of empowering our kids and those that we will never see, to understand this can be done. Because those same obstacles that they faced, we no longer face. They fought the good fight, broke down the doors in order for us not to have to do that, that it can be done and accomplished a lot easier than it took them to do so. So we missed it. I have spoken to Ms. Linda as well as Dr. Marty Casey and said, I cannot wait to the day that we all can grace the stage when this is all over, including Miss Bundles, along with the descendants of Anthony Overton, as myself, as well as Annie Malone, that we can represent what history actually was written by, and to show it can be done. Because as those that follow me, you see the things I put out there, that this is not something new that I've or a new cause I picked up because of this series. I have been championing and talking about history and the importance of it long before I even sat on the board or took my title in my own family's organization. One of the things I do when I speak and have the opportunity to do speaking engagements is to tell people how important it is for you to preserve even your own family history, whether it's known or nationally known or publicly known. You have to preserve it. And I want to address the fact of so many questions was like, well, why are you all speaking out now? Why haven't you done it before? Well, it's simply about capital, because we know that you will easily go and support those that will sit and distort our history, sit and create history. Christopher Columbus, I'm going to just say that. And yet we are pulling teeth when we're sending in proposals to get hired to come in and speak about this hidden and very unknown history. Yes, the Overton family has been approached several times. I can be honest; it's not a secret. And my uncle who founded the organization is probably on here still, and he knows that I can publicly say it. We've been approached several times about a book, but we're going to do it ourselves because we're going to make for sure it's done right. Every dollar is not a good dollar. Every client is not a good client. But at the same time, let's speak it in truth. However, your truth falls, and then get the evidence to support it. So we missed the mark. I mean, I'm talking about 3-4 states. That's how wide we missed this mark. And
Chantel,
for that reason is why I'm like, hey, we have to speak on this.
and you know what? If you allow me just to share with us, and and by the way, you guys have tons of thumbs ups and hearts going up on other monitors here. If anyone would like to grab that spot and FaceTime and ask Miss Linda or Miss Overton or Miss Marty a question, feel free to grab that spot, or anything you'd like to share. Please feel free to grab that spot. And last thing I'll say about this, Chantel, before I get out of you ladies' way again, is it appears to be our problem, is that we never tell our own story. We allow other people to tell our story. And that's a sad scenario that people of color unfortunately allow to happen all the time. And it's just I am elated, first of all, to be able to sit and listen to the information that's being shared, because it's being shared by those that know, and not by those that perpetrate and grab bits and pieces from your family and then try to tell it. So please continue.
Well, one of the other things I wanted to say is that I thought that they missed the mark on is that one of the reasons that they were able to do what they did is because of the organizations that they pulled together. They didn't do much justice to Madam C.J. Walker herself. They didn't do justice to her husband, nor Booker T. Washington. If you don't truly know his legacy and story, you miss that, how watered down his character was, and they did use his name. Booker T. Washington was a mentor of my family member, Anthony Overton, who then mentored Annie Malone. So these people were utilizing, pulling together this networking system, having these conferences, speaking on the obstacles that they were facing. And I tell anybody, I have no problem sharing with you where the information is. Now, some information is more privy to us because it was personally handed down by family members, but there are people that own Booker T. Washington's letters and his collection that you can go and see those notations in there. So it can be found. You can pull the articles. So that in itself, I thought the story was there. That was my biggest, when after I finally finished and recollect my feelings and thoughts, I was like, the story was there. Even if you had just taken it out of Miss Bundle's book, who is the great granddaughter of her, the story was there. Now, while you presented something over 95 to 98% of the people who watched it believe it to be true, I will forever have that question in my mind. Even with if someone who worked on it answered it, I don't quite think I could wrap my head around it. So with that, there was so much. I even asked Miss Linda to be for sure to, as you guys can see in the back of her, some of the products and the artifacts. I made for sure to bring artifacts as well. These were real living people that we should honor in the work that they did. So I think those things were largely missed, especially how they network with each other and how hard it is to get 4 of us together, less known more than 100 of us together. So,
and speaking of artifacts, I want you, Ms. Linda, to feel free to show our audience, if you need to put them closer to the camera or whatever, and you want to elaborate on that, please.
Well, I can share, and I want to go back to one thing that you started to talk about, Chantel, that is really, really important for me. And that is, as I listened to people's comments, I got a lot of people who were confused about the facts. The first thing you need to know is it wasn't based on the facts. We know that. But the fallout is really, really important. One of the things that got supported quite a bit was the Annie Malone Children and Family Service Center. It used to be the Colored Children's Orphan Home, the St. Louis Colored Children's Orphan Home. It morphed into a name in her honor, Annie Malone Home, and it changed with the time and addressed so many other things that our community needed. The bottom line, though, is we got people saying, I'm not ever going to do anything to support that home again. Wrong. You're supporting those children who need it. That parade was one of the largest activities that raised money to give what the state doesn't give. And the community has supported that orphan or that particular home. I won't say orphan home anymore, but this is the deal. That's been around since 1888, 24/7, 365 since 1888. 1888. Can you imagine? We're talking through war. We're talking through stock market crash. We're talking through epidemics, pandemics, whatever it is. That place has been there for African-American children. They've done lots of things in the community to support those children that go there. Please don't abandon anything like that for something that's not true. Please don't abandon anything like that. That is very, very clear for me that people need to know. Even now, if you haven't been supporting it, maybe you need to ask yourself why you don't. The other thing for me is one of the things that a lot of people don't really understand is Madam C.J. Walker nor Annie Malone were the absolute first people, women of color, to be millionaires. They were not. They were first in the hair care business, yes, but they were not. Anybody ever heard of Mary Ellen Pleasant? That's somebody people ought to take a look at. She had $30 million in the late 1800s. And there were several other people of color who amassed very large amounts of money and did wonderful things with them. But you got to take the initiative for yourself times and learn about your history. People are not accustomed to digging for themselves, I'm pretty sure. But it's not a bad habit to get into, and you can learn still. You can teach an old dog new tricks. It just takes a little bit of effort. It just takes a little bit of effort. And if we're going to survive, like I said, we're here because we were the fittest of the fit. Our parents, our generations before us survived and navigated all kinds of things. And in this situation, people are thinking this is the very first time there's ever been anything like this health thing that we're having right now. It has not. There was a pandemic in 1988, and we survived that. There were other diseases that took over our city and killed thousands. But you got to learn how to take care, and you got to learn how to not just take care of you, but take care of your community. That's a responsibility all of us have.
Absolutely. And with you saying that, Miss Linda, that is again why I will add and build upon that, why history is so important. Because if the leadership that we had in place now had taken history seriously, or had even had any knowledge of it, you would have thought about when they were contacted that this is possibly a issue. They'd have thought about smallpox. They would have thought about the influenza that took out everyone, that they told them not to have that parade in Virginia, and they went ahead and had it. And we lost millions of people behind that. You know, you have to, that's how important knowing history is. We are building off of the blocks that were already laid. And that's why I posted that post from Killer Mike. Killer Mike is one of my new heroes from when and I don't know him from his music, but I know him from Powernomics. And my thing is that, like he said, don't you ever forget your history. And see,
This can
showing the poor.
I'm trying to find the right camera angle here, but this can. Two things that excite me, and this is why I do what I do. I want you to see how small this can is. It cost what, $2, I think it was. $2. Do you know how many of these things had to be sold all over this world in order for Annie Malone to amass millions of dollars? This can. There we go. Somewhere around in there. I can't find it. Okay. These were shipped out in bulk. She had 2 mailings every day, very similar to what Madam C.J. Walker had to in the different places that she did. But can you imagine how many of these things had to be packed? Well, first of all, Annie Malone was able to employ 175 people in a building in 19, and I keep saying 19 in the wrong places and 18 in the wrong place. 1918. She was able to employ people to pack these things, to make labels for these things. People of color didn't have jobs like that. Men had jobs that were laborers. Women had jobs that were domestic. But you can imagine, you can have a person who is deciding to build a workforce. She wasn't just a person who had the idea too. She employed people. She gave people a lifestyle because she was able to make sure they had regular income. How many of us can do that? I want to aspire. I want to get to the point where I'm not just working for me. I would like to have people to work, to do something where I can employ them and I can ensure that they have a living, a lifestyle, and they can pass it on. Past wealth is no joke. Can you think what would happen if you were able to provide for your children, or your children's children for that matter, a way for them to make sure that they didn't have to worry about rent or worry about the cost of a car or worry about insurance for whatever, because it makes money for itself. You've passed that wealth on from one generation to the other generation, like Annie Malone and Madam C.J. Walker tried to do. There's a big difference between purchasing your home for yourself or renting your space for somebody else. There's a difference between working in your house and being able to care for your children and take care of your home yourself. have such a better place to live, from one house to the next house, from one community to the next community. It's a real big difference. That thinking, that microcosm thinking, that thinking that makes you look for the next move or figure out how the next thing is going to work. This is a off the subject kind of piece, but that's why I think it's really valuable for people at a very young age to learn how to play chess, because you learn very early one move affects the other move, and you got to set those suckers up early so that it all will work out and capture that
absolutely
king,
but that
which is what it is.
then what we're talking about.
Your prize is. I think it's very important.
That's within what we're talking about,
Yes.
because that was what they all were about, was community. But I do want Marty to speak, Dr. Marty Casey. So go ahead, Marty, you're on.
Okay, so I just want to leave everyone with this, that it is so important to protect your work. If you have any products out there, it's important for you to get those products patented. Make sure that you have creative licensing in place, that you apply for that to protect your name and your stories. And of course, if you contact the Library of Congress, I know that the copyright have just gone up this year in 2020, but it's still very, very minimum in terms of protecting your work. It's so important to handle your business and make sure that you tell your own story. Continue to share the legacy and keep the legacy going by telling your own stories.
Absolutely. And again, let me even build off of that, is that you have to have those of us to hire us just as they did. And you have to support organizations like the Annie Malone Historical Society, Overton Nation. It's not that we're just asking for a handout. We produce products. We have the same thing that others are paying $10,000-$20,000 for, but yet we can barely get through the door. But when something like this happens, we're the first people that everybody reach out to. Was like, well, what happened during Black History Month when I was supposed to come speak to the kids? And it's so funny, and I'm going to say it because I will be remiss not to say it and untruthful, but you can find money for everybody else that don't look like us, but the minute you call me, there is no money. But it takes money to actually preserve and continue to pass down this history. So I would tell everyone, if you really want to know and even have a little bit of history in your hand, go to Annie Malone's Historical Society and purchase the book that they have recreated. They republished. Let me not use recreate. They republished the one that she originally published. So you have the opportunity for as little as $20. Think about that, $20 to own a little bit of history and to hear it from the words of the woman that you're wanting to know information about. There's the book. There's the book. If you guys want to support Overton Nation, just go to overtonnation.com. We have several items, from our coffee cups, coffee mugs, to our t-shirts, that you can own a small piece of history. That's how you support. You have to go to the museums. I often push people to go. Even almost every museum that is owned and operated by African Americans, preserving African American history, is in the same position as our HBCUs. They are struggling, but that's because we don't support them. Just like the HBCUs, you take the elite, athletes, and you take them to the other colleges that we don't have a real say in. Same as the history museums. You do the same thing outside of the Civil Rights Museum. Come on. Most of you guys go to Memphis in May. Now, a lot of my family history is in Memphis, but you bypass Hennings, Tennessee, which is the one man that we should still honor that is now laying in front of his boyhood home, which is Alex Haley. That got us all thinking about our history again and our roots. That museum should not be struggling. A museum that's in Monroe, Louisiana, ran by Mr. Ross Slack, that was so amazing to pull my family down and honor us and have the city honor us. They shouldn't be struggling. Everything since I was a little girl that I go in, and when I became an adult, I Google to see what is in this city that's connected to Black history and let me go and support that. That's the mindset that we need to change. We need to change that, because you can't believe these companies are going to survive without that.
There's a power.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There's a power
it's in our craft.
In collectively doing things. The power of collective economics says that I might not have what Rockefeller has, but I have what I do have, and I can share the little bit I have. And if I can convince you to share the little bit that you have, that collection will make me as powerful as any Rockefeller. Just might take me a little longer.
Absolutely.
But I can give you
the mindset that everybody's
$2 and I can still make it help. My goodness, if I got $5 from everybody who's ever been on my website, I could pay for the building that I would like to have as the Annie Malone Museum. I could do that. You could do so many other things if you had people to contribute the small amount that they contribute. I can tell you this. At one point, as the Director of Resource Development at the Annie Malone Children and Family Service Center, because I was employed there, we had a challenge grant, and we asked for people to give us 57 cents a day. 57 cents a day, which meant if you want to contribute, you can contribute. You can do it for a day. You can do it for a week. You can do it for a year. We had people doing that, and they were able to convince lunchrooms of people. They were able to convince parties of people. You go out and have dinner with your friends, and you make a contribution to that particular cause. My whole point was, when you have a whole lot of people doing what they can do, you can do what Malone Children and Family Service Center did, which was raise over $280,000. And that was in less than
fantastic
32 days. That was 32
Right.
days.
And I mean,
that
when
was
you
convincing
give organizations
to act. Just to act. It sounds really easy,
but when you give
need
to
the
these
commitment of people who
organizations,
are, yes.
When you give to these organizations, make sure that you hold us accountable for what it is that we're saying that we're doing. Someone even said to me, they didn't believe that we should speak out against this movie because so many African American women were connected to it. And I'm like, they don't get a pass. Matter of fact, they need to be held more so accountable. You know the struggle. So if you give to us, hold us accountable.
Absolutely.
Call us out.
Absolutely.
That has to be done. I mean, and I say that because I'm stating to you, that is why, and speaking to those questions of why hasn't this history and story been told to the masses prior to? It's finances. We don't get the same support. It's that simple. I can tell you that firsthand. It's that simple. And that's with anything that we do. And then we need to stop over pushing a whole lot of stuff. Stop over pushing our children to work and not equipping them with the information on becoming entrepreneurs, and stop pushing our children and everybody else, telling them they need to just be a boss. And if you're not a boss, then you're nothing. Everybody was not meant to be a boss, but maybe you were meant to play like Madam C.J. Walker's lawyer, same as Annie Malone had an attorney. I can name a ton of family members that Anthony pulled in, but he was the spearhead of the show. Everybody needs to know their place and the lane that they need to play in. It's that simple. Everybody's not going to be able to run, because trust me, if you have a product or an idea that's the same or close to somebody else, trust me, it is better for the two of you all or the group of you all to go ahead and do it than for you to do it. It's much easier. I'm telling you, I push that boulder up a hill. And often my family will tell you, and I say it publicly, I tell them all the time, come catch some of this work.
Yeah. And ladies, perfect place to put a pin in it. It's been fantastic. We want to come back and work on this some more for our listening audience. And as I told you, ladies, checking out my monitors, thumbs are going up and hearts are going up, etc. So we just want, as our new people, the old people know what we do, but we just want to remind our new people, doing a series with Overton Nation, and this is probably about number 6, and we will be coming back to do more. But we want to invite you guys back, and it's you have been a fantastic audience. I know that you've learned a lot today, listening to these beautiful ladies. Not only, excuse me, Dr. Casey, but Ms. Linda Nance and Ms. Chantel and Jenny has been back and forth with us, and some of you ladies have been commenting. But ladies, right now, if you will, please, if you have final comments, please make them.
My final
Marty
comment
is on the phone. Let me let her go first.
I didn't hear the question, Chantel. I'm sorry.
He wants you to make a final comment. Like, what are your final thoughts and comments?
My final thought is that my takeaway from this movie has been to make sure that I am personally responsible as an actress for the work that I say yes to. I think it is important for us not to just be so excited about finally getting the part, getting a script, but understanding that there's a greater responsibility to who we have been called, the work that we have been called to do on the stage and on the big screen. So it has really helped me to be aware of those checks and balances and how important that is. And I will continue to spread that word with my fellow actors, writers, and directors. This was one of those opportunities where I feel like we all needed to learn something from it, and that is my personal takeaway.
Okay, I yield the floor to Miss Linda. I'll do last.
That would be fine. I first want to thank you for having me, Mr. Casey. I truly appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audiences. I want that people try to take up the mantle that valuing your history is a very, very personal commitment that you make to yourself. And I hope that that will continue as a result of having something like this that makes you think about what you see, make you react to what you see, and also make you invest in what you see by talking about it and trying to steer some of the folks who are responsible for making these films know this is not going to work for us if you mistreat what is true to us about us.
Okay, Chantel, before you give your closing statement, if you'll ask Ms. Casey, if you'll tell our audience how they might contact you.
Okay, I'll
you
start.
You can contact me.
Dr. Casey, they want to know how to contact you.
Sure. I can be reached on Facebook under Marty K. Casey or Dr. Marty K. Casey. I can be reached on Twitter at Marty, MARTY _K underscore Casey, Casey. And I can you can definitely message me on either one, and you can call me directly at 314-810-7602.
Okay, and I can't see Miss Linda, so I was going to yield to Miss Linda next, and then I go last. Miss Linda, are you there?
In and out for whatever reason. However, it is www.AnnieMaloneHistoricalSociety.org. Annie Malone Historical Society.org is our website where you can learn lots of different things about Annie Malone and see lots of pictures and have opportunity to make contribution if you'd like. You can also reach us on a Facebook page that is Annie Malone Historical Society, or you can call me at 314-229-0808.
Okay. Well, I want to do one thing. I want to share this from my family.
Oh.
And that's just one of the artifacts. We have many artifacts in our possession because we do a pop-up museum, a mobile museum. But you can reach me and anyone that is connected to Overton Nation through Overton Nation, overtonnation.com. On all social media platforms is Overton Nation. If you want to kind of just engage with me, now know that I'm not always politically correct. You can engage me under my photography company, Oh My Net, and that's OHA.
I did not give you my email address, which is Annie Malone History at att.net.
Chantel, I have a question.
Okay, and Mr. Melvin is talking, but he's muted.
I'm sorry. It's so messed. I just want to know if the book is still available because I told you when I tried to order it.
Yes, Miss Linda, I'll talk to you personally, cousin.
Okay.
I already talked to Miss Linda, but yeah, the book is available. But Mr. Melvin, your mic is muted.
Yeah, I was typing, so I muted it on purpose. But thank you. I'm glad you reminded me. Listen, guys, for my regulars, you know how to contact me. However, I'm so happy we have a lot of new viewers tonight that you can contact me at www.dyingonmyfeet.com. www.dyingonmyfeet.com. Once you get there, you'll find all of my social media sites, or you can phone me at 440-935-0374, 440-935-0374. And again, as my audience know, I'm also a writer. And my latest book is titled Mothers and Their Smen, an introspective look at mothers rearing their sons. It's a book that gives a voice to mothers, talks about mothers and sons, etc. And feel free to go to Barnes & Noble, or you can go to my website, and it'll be great to have your support. So again, guys, we look forward to having you return. Obviously, I will share again. We've been doing a series with Overton Nation, and I think we're probably up to series number 7. And we're going to do a series with Overton Nation as long as Overton Nation is amenable to doing that. As I shared with Chantel the first time I spoke with her, to me, it's real simple. And Ms. Linda has alluded to it. Dr. Casey has alluded to it. Jenny is talking about purchasing the book. We don't tell our own story enough. And when I can encounter or be able to have an audience with us who can share with us about us, then I'm just intrigued. And I've really been intrigued by the whole process. I've been intrigued tonight, and I'm sharing with the panel you have tonight, Ms. Chantel, is that we need to come back and do some more. And so all I would need from you guys is for us to stay in contact, and we set a date and we do more. So with that, we don't want to wear our audience out. We thank them so very much for joining us. And again, I'm your host, Melvin Lars, of the Nobody Asked Me Guys show. Guys, come back and join us again. I will check out my website, and you will see the guests that we'll be having coming forward. They will be guests that many of you are familiar with. So we want all of you guys to have a great and blessed night, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.